Hello friends, welcome to Code with Kartiki. So today we are going to see why we need identifiers in program. So before that, we will see what is meant by identifiers. So an identifier typically refers to a name given to a variable, function, class, module or other user defined item in a program. So whatever these variables, functions, classes, modules and user defined items are, so these are the basic building blocks of any program, right? So to name this, we are going to use identifiers. So in computer programming, identifiers are used to uniquely identify and distinguish these elements in the source code. So we want to uniquely identify these basic building blocks. So that's why we need identifiers. They serve as labels to memory location, allowing developers to refer to specific entities within their program. So for example, we are defining variables. We want to repeatedly use that variable value. So at that time, instead of using memory location, we are using that variable name. So for example, we have defined one function. We want to call that function. So instead of using its memory location, we are using its name, that is identifier given to function, and using that we can call that function, right? So because of that, we can reuse those entities in our program. So we will see this practically. Now we will see identifiers. So here variable names I have given, then function name I have given, class name I have given, right? So these are the whatever this roll number I have given here, variable name. So this is one identifier for this 101 value. So these values are stored in memory location, and we can't use those memory location in our program. So that will be very difficult to handle memory location. So instead of that, whatever the names given to this memory location, those we are using. So roll number 101, student name is Ram. Then I have defined here one function, add function I have defined, and I want to call this function. At that time I will use this add identifier. Then class name I have here, one class I have defined, class student. In this class one constructor is there. So whenever I want to create its object, so at that time I will use this class name. So for example, this roll number and student name is there. So for example, I want to reuse these in my program. For example, I want to print this on the console, so I will use print function. So name is student name and roll number is roll number, right? So now what I have done, so these variables I have defined here using their identifier name, so that is variable name. I am accessing those values here. So if I run this program, so now I got here name is Ram and roll number is 101, right? So in this way, using identifier, you can access these values in memory location. So behind the scene there are addresses, so we will check those addresses. For example, print. So in Python id function is there, using that you can get address of any variable or you can say identifier also. So this is the memory location. At this memory location, this roll number is stored. So this is very big number and it is not easy to handle these memory addresses. So instead of that, we are using this identifier. So these are the variable names we can say. Now I will comment out this. I will comment out this code also. We are done with our variable names. Now next is function. So I have defined here function add ab. So now I want to call this function. So behind the scene for this function also there is address. We will check that address id of add. Then we will get address of this add function. So now this is the address. So now I want to call this function. So for calling this function, I am not going to use this memory address, right? So I have told you we are not going to use this memory addresses. So we need to use this identifier, that is function name. So I will give here add 1 and 3, right? will comment out this line. Now I will run this. Now 4, right? So means I have called this function using this identifier, that is function name given. Next is class student. So now here student is one class, and in this class I have defined one constructor. So it is accepting one roll number and initializing one instance variable. So whatever things I have given here we are going to see in detail, don't worry about this. So I am just explaining here identifiers. So now I want to create object of this class. So s1, so I have to use here identifier for this class, that is student, and this is taking 101 for example. And if I print this s1, so this is one object created in memory. So now if I run this, so now I got here student object, right? So now here whenever I want to create object of this class, I am using this identifier for this class, that is student, right? So this is the use of identifier. So these are the basic building blocks in program. So you want to uniquely identify those, so that at that time these identifiers are useful, right? So now here I have defined one module. So I have one module hello, and in this module I have one variable x I have defined. So now if I access this module in my program, so if I do import hello, and if I check its address id hello, right? So now here I got this address, right? Means whatever this basic building blocks in program. So this is one module. So I have told you, so these are identifiers are name given to modules, functions, then classes, variables, right? So in this way we have seen how these identifiers are used in our program. So these are the variable names, then this is function name, and student, so this is the class name. So in general these are called identifiers to identify these entities. In this way we have seen need of identifiers in our program. If you like the content of my channel, please subscribe and press bell icon to get notification. Thanks for watching the video, and if you have any doubt you can comment below.